The detention block reeked of ozone and fear. Corporal Jack's ran hung from magnetically sealed restraints, his combat uniform torn and bloodied from the ambush that had gone sideways 3 days ago. The Krillian enforcers had caught them during what should have been a routine extraction. Him and the kid he'd been assigned to protect. Jack's eyes shifted to the smaller holding cell across the corridor, where Cub Sarai sat perfectly still, watching everything with unsettling amber eyes that seemed to glow in the dim light. Sarai wasn't human. The young predator came from a species the Coalition had only recently made contact with. The Velcari, apex hunters from a death world that made Earth look like a vacation resort. But Sarai was just a cub, barely into adolescence by his species standards, and Jack had been assigned as his diplomatic escort when the mission went south. The enforcers thought they had captured valuable prisoners. They had no idea what they'd actually caught. Human, one of the Krillians hissed, its kite splitting into what might have been a smile. Your government will pay handsomely for your return. But first, you tell us where the Coalition fleet is positioned. The Krillian held a stun rod, crackling with blue energy. Jack spat blood onto the floor. Go to hell. The stun rod came down hard against his ribs. Pain exploded through his nervous system, every muscle seizing as voltage coursed through him. He bit back a scream, refusing to give them the satisfaction. Through blurred vision, he saw Sarai stand up in his cell. The cub's posture had changed. No longer the curious youth who asked endless questions about human culture and ate Earth candy like it was the greatest discovery in the galaxy. Now Sarai stood like his ancestors must have before the hunt. Patient, calculating, deadly. The lead enforcer commanded another strike. This one was worse. Jack's body convulsed, and this time he couldn't hold back the cry of pain. His vision went white, then dark at the edges. He tasted copper and ozone. Stop. The word came from Sarai's cell, spoken in perfect Coalition standard, but with an undertone that made even the Krillian enforcers pause. It wasn't a plea. It was a statement of fact, as inevitable as gravity. The cub speaks? The enforcer laughed, turning towards Sarai's cell. Tell me, little hunter, does it hurt to watch your protector suffer? Sarai tilted his head, and Jack saw something flash across the young Velcari's face. Not anger. Anger was hot and impulsive. This was cold calculation, the kind that came from a species evolved to take down prey 3 times their size. He protected me when your soldiers fired on our shuttle, Sarai said softly, his clawed fingers tracing patterns on the transparent barrier of his cell. He threw himself in front of me, took 3 plasma rounds meant for me. Did you know humans do that? Sacrifice themselves for others, even for aliens they barely know. The enforcer laughed again. Humans are weak, sentimental. No. Sarai's grin was slight, barely perceptible, but Jack recognized it. He'd seen that expression once before when Sarai had watched a nature documentary about Earth predators. The cub had been fascinated by wolves, the way they hunted in packs, the way they honored loyalty. Humans are pack animals, social hunters. On my world, we respect that. We fear that. The Krillian moved closer to Sarai's cell, stun rod still crackling. You're locked in a holding cell, cub. What exactly should we fear? Sarai's grin widened, revealing rows of serrated teeth designed to tear through armor and bone. You hit him with a stun rod, made him scream, made him bleed. You know what's interesting about Velcari physiology? We remember everything, every scent, every face, every voice. The enforcer's confidence wavered slightly. My people believe in balance, Sarai continued, his voice calm, almost conversational. Jack's blood ran cold, not from fear of the cub, but from recognizing what was coming. He saved my life. You tried to take his. That creates an imbalance. Empty threats from a child. The enforcer spat, but uncertainty crept into its voice. Sarai pressed one clawed hand against the barrier. Where his palm touched, the energy field flickered. These cells were designed to hold Coalition species. Humans, Krillians, even Thoraxi warlords. His claws began to glow, heat radiating from them. A biological trait Jack had read about but never witnessed. Velcari could superheat their natural weapons when threatened, hot enough to cut through most alloys. But you've never held a Velcari before, have you? The barrier sparked, sputtered, and died. Sarai stepped out with the casual grace of a predator who had never doubted the outcome. The enforcers raised their weapons, but the cub moved with speed that defied tracking. One moment he was across the corridor, the next among them. What followed lasted less than 15 seconds. Jack had seen combat. He'd fought in 3 border conflicts and survived situations that had killed better soldiers. But watching Sarai move was like watching physics bend to accommodate pure, focused violence. The Cub didn't just fight. He dismantled them with surgical precision. When it was over, 4 Krillian enforcers lay alive but thoroughly incapacitated. Sarai stood over the leader, 1 foot on the enforcer's chest, claws extended. "Let's see how long they last with 1 kidney," he said softly, almost pleasantly. That's the human expression. Yes, when someone deserves a very specific lesson. "Kid," Jack croaked from his restraints. "Don't." Sarai looked up, amber eyes meeting his. For a moment, Jack saw the internal struggle, the wild hunter versus the diplomatic youth who had spent months learning human culture and ethics. Then Sarai stepped back. "You're right, Corporal. Balance doesn't require me to become like them." The Cub moved to Jack's restraints, heating his claws just enough to melt through the magnetic locks. "Besides," he added, "humans taught me something better than revenge." "What's that?" Jack asked, dropping heavily to the floor as the restraints released. Sarai's grin returned, warmer this time. "That the scariest thing you can do to your enemies isn't killing them. It's letting them live with the knowledge of what you could have done, and showing them mercy anyway. That's what keeps them awake at night." Jack laughed, despite the pain radiating through his body, slinging an arm over the young Velcari's shoulders for support. "Kid, you're going to make one hell of a diplomat. I learned from the best, Corporal." As they made their way toward the facility's exit, leaving behind a trail of groaning enforcers who would tell stories about the human and the Cub for years to come, Jack realized something. The galaxy had spent so long fearing humanity's resilience and stubborn refusal to quit that they'd forgotten to watch what happened when humans taught those lessons to others. The coalition was going to be very different in a generation or 2, and Jack couldn't wait to see it. Please follow my channel for more videos. 1 click from you can change my life.